getting to you. We're still trying to digest the breaking news of $12.5 billion for the Lakers, and LeBron's not even on the team. No, that has nothing to do with it. But your thoughts on the Lakers getting sold for $10 billion and now $12.5 billion in a year?
It doesn't surprise me. The Lakers are still the premier franchise in the NBA, even though the Knicks winning the title this year. It's the Lakers. Everybody goes back to the nostalgia of the Lakers. Magic Johnson, Michael Cooper, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all of that stuff, Byron Scott. So, yeah, it's still a big deal, even though they haven't played as well. It's like the Dallas Cowboys. It's a perfect example. The Cowboys have not won a Super Bowl since the 90s, yet they were valued today at $15.5 billion. They're still a worthy franchise, right? Even if they haven't won a championship in 30 plus years. So it doesn't surprise me at all. It also tells me it's the reason why Bob Iger wanted out of Disney so he could buy the team. I mean, clearly, he didn't want to run he didn't want to run an entertainment business anymore. He wanted to run a sports franchise. So kudos to them.
Al, the New York Giants in year 2 with Jackson Dart, year 1 with John Harbaugh. I was reading earlier an article from Jordan Rana, and that was a rough afternoon quote for the Giants offense at training camp this week. Now we know it's early, and you haven't even had a preseason game, first one being on Saturday. But what are your realistic expectations for this Giants team? The three of us were kind of bouncing around off air yesterday. Could see it between 8 and 10 wins, could see 7, maybe it's less, who knows. But how much better do you think they'll be with Harbaugh at the helm as head coach?
I think they're going to be a lot better, and I think they're definitely going to be somewhere in that 8 to 10 win range. They didn't hire John Harbaugh to pick up 7 wins and say, okay, we've done a little bit better. This is a team, I think, that the expectation now is, we've got the right coach with the right personnel. We're healthy. We're going to go into the season healthy, assuming nothing happens during the preseason games. This is a team that should make an impact, and I see them very easily winning 8 games, probably 9. Do they win the division? Well, I don't know if I would say that just yet in August. Do I see them coming in as a wild card? Certainly, and I think the first probably 5 to 6 weeks of the season is going to really play out as to how the Giants are going to do. If they get off to a really hot start, if they're 4-1, 3-2, 5-1 maybe after the first 6 games, then you can certainly say that this team is on a roll for the playoffs. But look, you got a new offensive coach coming in. Dart is learning some new things here. He's excited to have Malik Neighbors. Could OBJ stay on and hook on? It's possible. So, I mean, there's a lot of upside here, but is there going to be mistakes in the very beginning? Sure there are. And I think Saturday afternoon, you're not going to see a lot. You're going to see some stuff, but I think it's really next week where you're going to see a lot of the stuff happening for the Giants.
We can go either way, Yankees or Mets, but I wanted to go with the Mets because, Francisco Lindor just came out, told the New York Post he wants to stay a Met. You have Gunnar Henderson saying, I'll never go back to Baltimore, and so I'm sure that they'll be in the sweepstakes. You got Skubal is out there. Cohen is one of the few people that can afford maybe the $300 or $400 million. What are the Mets going to do? I mean, I know the Mets are the Mets right now, but what are the Mets going to look like next year?
You know what? I honestly can't predict that right now because I don't think that David Stearns is the right guy to run this team. I had the only issue that I had with him in the offseason last year was losing Alonso. You lost your best player. You lost the guy who's your team home run leader, right? A good guy in the clubhouse, an excellent first baseman. You let him go without even entertaining an offer to him and replace him with first baseman by platoon, which has not exactly worked out. They've all been terrible at first base. So, and look at what he's doing with the Orioles. Hasn't missed a game, hitting bombs, playing well. There's no surprise here. So Stone's losing him, I think, is a big blow. The other guys, look, Diaz didn't want to be here. He wanted to pitch with his brother. His brother recruited him to come to L.A., and then his brother goes to the Braves. I had no problem with that. The trades that they made were gambles. They're rolling the dice on 2 guys who were off injured, and it backfired on them. So I really don't think that Stearns is the guy to be running this team, but I don't think that Steve Cohen is going to let him go in the offseason. But I do think that they need to upgrade to a guy who really knows personnel and can get. look, Lindor said, we're not in a rebuilding mode. We just need to acquire certain pieces. Well, you're going to need starting pitching because your starting pitching is not that good. So it remains to be seen.
Al, do you think Cam Schlittler hangs on and wins the AL Cy Young Award? I know Dylan Cease and Sonny Gray are kind of nipping at his heels, so to speak. But, look, he's been very impressive. There's no doubt about that. Do you think he hangs on and wins this thing between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he's done a really good job, and I unless he really falters in the end here, I don't see him losing it. And let's not forget, the Yankees are going to get a lot of guys back in the next 3 or 4 weeks. That will certainly help him, every 5 days. So I don't see him, unless he has a catastrophic collapse, which I don't think is going to happen. I think he wins.
As far as, I love your point on Alonso. Alonso, by the way, leading the Orioles in every offensive category. Yankees look good. They're going to get a lot of their guys back here in a little bit. In fact, we actually had a Giancarlo Stanton sighting. But if the Yankees don't win this year, and I'm talking championship, is there any chance we get rid of Aaron Boone?
No.
God.
No, and I know. It frustrates the daylights out of Yankee fans, but honestly, he fits the criteria for a Yankee manager. They have a book. Here's what you do. Players like him. He gets
players like him, and they act like a bunch of clowns out there. They do some of the worst baseball stuff.
I agree with you 100%. Look what Jazz Chisholm last night. He challenges a pitch. He goes to first base. Seconds later, he gets picked off. What is that?
My favorite guy.
If that was Buck, listen. If that was Buck Showalter, do you think that Jazz Chisholm would have seen the bases again in the game? He would have yanked him out of the game. He would have sat him on the bench. Bottom line, Boone doesn't do that. And to me, that's the players running the clubhouse. And I don't think that's necessarily a great idea if you're not winning championships. If you're winning 2 championships in a row, you do what you want.
But Al, to get into that point, if you're afraid of being reprimanded, if you're afraid of being taught or coached, you don't pull that crap if you're Jazz Chisholm. You don't have a lollipop in your mouth, because when you come off the field, Buck Showalter would have slapped it out of your mouth. Do you get what I'm saying? So your guys play better because they're afraid that they'll be reprimanded for being clowns.
See, I agree with you 100%, but Jazz reminds me of me as a kid when my mother used to go, no, don't do that. And I would look at her and I'd go, no, I'm going to do that. And then bing, bang, boom, and I'd get knocked around the house. Because that was the thing. You want a needle. Boone has to really, I agree with you. Boone should really be dropping a hammer on these guys and have a discussion and say, look, we got to cut out the nonsense. We got to buckle down here. We got 6 weeks, 7 weeks left. We got to get in, and we got to stay in, and we got to make a big run here. And if you're a serious ball player, you're going to do that. Otherwise, you're going to ride the bench. And the moment one guy gets out of line, you got to sit him. But he won't do that. And I think the Yankees are okay with that to a degree. And I think it really depends on where the Yankees go in the playoffs here. I think if the Yankees get knocked out in the first or second round, and then I think there's a legitimate argument to make a discussion to say, do we have, A, the right personnel, and B, do we have the right guy leading these guys? If they make it to the World Series again and they lose, I think the Yankees will be like, well, we just missed it, but you know what? Boone did a really good job. His job stays.
How impressed have you been with George Lombard Jr. here, Al, recently? I know it's only been about a week or so, but yeah, how impressed have you been?
I'll tell you what, change of venue, comes in, I think it's one of those things where you get traded to a team that has such a great history of winning championships. How, the fans revere the guy who gets off to a hot start when he first gets acquired. All of those things have really helped Lombard Jr., and you can just see in the results here. He's happy to be here. He wants to play. He's playing a little loose now. It's a good thing, and I'm impressed. And that's great. It was a great acquisition by the Yankees. Well done.
I was looking up how much the Knicks are worth. The Knicks right now are valued between $9.85 billion and $10.1 billion. This blew my mind, though, Al. The revenue that they generate now, and it's got to be like advertising and all the other, $530 million to $620 million. And this is what we were talking about. You don't pay $12.5 billion unless you're going to get some return on that investment. I mean, how much do you think the Lakers are getting? If the Knicks are worth that much and they hadn't won in 50-something years, how much are the Lakers getting? $1 billion a year?
Bob Iger is lighting cigars with $1,000 bills. Come on. I mean, they're going to print money. Print money. And same with the Knicks. I mean, look, the value of the Knicks is because of the fact that they hadn't won a championship in so long. They play in the quote-unquote world's most famous arena. There was such a mystique behind the Knicks, even though fans couldn't stand Dolan. They hated the moves that he made. You know, but he for the most part, stayed out of the way this year, and that's why they won. I mean, if you told me that, you know, when they hired Mike Brown last year, that they were going to win a championship, I was like, you're out of your mind. There's no way. They don't have the right person. But they put it together towards the end where everything, you know, just fell for them in the right spots, and guys stepped up when they had to, and they showed that all throughout the finals. So it's no surprise that the Knicks are as valuable as they are, but, I mean, I know there's no chance that Jim Dolan would ever entertain a notion of selling that team, ever. It never happened.
What do you make, Al, of the opening night game? We knew it was going to be Philly. I mean, the second LeBron goes to the 76ers, you're going to find a way to make that be the home opener. What do you expect ticket prices to look like, if you haven't checked already, for the home opener and now the defending champs?
Well, the secondary market already, they're going for a couple of grand a ticket, which I mean is outlandish. Look, Rush just played at the Garden 2 weeks ago, and I've seen Rush 14 times. I skipped it this time around for the fact that the tickets were through the roof, and there was no way I was paying $500-600 to sit on the ceiling at Madison Square Garden. The other thing is, I don't need my every move being examined by MSG's cameras when you walk in and they're watching you every step of the way. It's like, you know, walking into the gulag. I'm sorry, but I don't like to get Jim Dolan my money for anything. What I do in an arena is my business. I don't need them looking at me. And I have a friend who can't go to any games at MSG or see a concert at Radio City or the Beacon Theater because he's a lawyer. He has a lawsuit against the Garden right now. He has a cease and desist. He cannot enter any of the arenas until the lawsuit is settled. So he hasn't been to a game in 3-4 years because he's got a couple of lawsuits against the Garden. So no way, I wouldn't give him my money. And the fans are going to be there, right? And here's the best part. Here's the best part of all. LeBron will only have to take a cab to get there if he's living in New York. It's not like he's going to take a helicopter to go back and forth to Philadelphia.
I do love that story. Al Gattullo from AM 970, The Answer in New York. He is our sports guru. Also does a craft beer cast at 11 p.m. on Sunday nights. All right, so we're both cancer survivors, and beer kind of hurts my throat right now from my neck and throat cancer.
Okay.
Give me a beer that can put some weight on my bones, and at the same time is going to be a good beer.
Oh, go get yourself a nice high ABV pastry stout. It's low carb, not going to hurt your throat that much. It'll be silky smooth, a little chocolate, a little coffee. You'll be feeling good in no time.
Two of my favorite things: chocolate and coffee.
There you go.
I love you.
There you go.
Perfect for you. How about that? That's good. Al, one more from me here, quick, for the Knicks and how the East stacks up with Philly adding LeBron. As the defending champs, are the Knicks still the team to beat? You know, on paper, at least going in, or the moves that Philly made, maybe Boston stealing Mitchell Robinson from us Knicks fans, changes your view on that?
No, I think the Knicks are the favorite. I think the Celtics are right behind them. Philadelphia, look, it's great that they got LeBron, but it's not LeBron at 28. It's LeBron at 40, plus. So, I mean, is he going to be competitive and good? Yeah. The team around him, that's the question mark there. I mean, it was a bold move. I honestly thought he was going to go back to Miami, but I right now, I wouldn't put Philly in the conversation. I definitely would put the Knicks up at top and Boston at number 2. Philly maybe 3, but I'm looking at Philly as maybe 4 at this point. But we'll see. I mean, again, it's if you're doing this before the season, it's definitely the Knicks are the favorite right now.
Al, you're the best. Tell Piscopo I said hi. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. Love having you on.
You got it. I will do that. Have a good one, guys.
All right, Al. Thanks.
Al Gattullo, everybody. AM 970, The Answer in New York.